Hello, my name is Tom O'Keefe, and I am the founder of Bizak. Bizak computes the profitability of internet startups and aggregates that data for investors to compare the performance to industry benchmarks and the competition. The benchmarks that Bizak computes are revenues, revenues per visitor, costs, cost per visitor, earnings, earnings per visitor, and business valuation, which we also call the Bizak estimate. These benchmarks can be viewed, compared, and sorted according to industry, type of website, and revenue source. This slide is a screenshot of the comparative benchmarks as seen from the startup side of Bizak. When an entrepreneur logs into his or her account, he can click on the Benchmarks tab and compute the benchmarks according to industry, business type, and revenue source. He can then compare his project according to those computations. Now, those computations can be changed for any and all comparison of industry, business type, and revenue source. For example, you can compare your project to a company in the financial industry who operates a blog and who makes money off Google AdSense. You'll get one set of benchmarks for each parameter: visitors, revenues, revenues per visitor, costs, cost per visitor, earnings, earnings per visitor, and a Bizak estimate. You can then compare your project to any other combination, such as healthcare industry, how they do with consulting services, making money off of consulting and service fees. From here, you can view the best performer in that sort, the lowest performer in that sort, your project, how you compare to that project, whether you're above or below the benchmark. And below the table is a visual representation of all this data for each field. Entrepreneurs use Bizak to compute the business valuation, compare their startup's performance to industry benchmarks, and connect with investors for funding opportunities. Investors use Bizak to evaluate the earnings potential of internet startups, compare website rankings to internet benchmarks, and connect with entrepreneurs for business financing. Bizak is one of the only, if not the only, online application which enables investors to view the financial data for internet startups. Investors who subscribe to Bizak can view the specific financials and website analytics of every startup who elects to have his information shown to investors. On the other hand, startups can only view the average benchmarks for other startups listed on Bizak. They cannot view the specific data for their competitors. Bizak has a few revenue models currently in place and others planned for the future. I'm a strong believer that any website needs to integrate both offline and online revenue sources to balance out the mix. First, our subscription model for both startups and investors. The investor model should be launched in the first couple weeks of this month. For startups, to begin with, they have a number of free tools that they can use to both compute the analytics for their projects and make comparisons for a number of projects that they may have. After this, they have a 30-day free trial to use our comparative benchmarks to their likings, to do all the research, the comparison, view and sort industries, and research profitable markets. If they wish to use the benchmarks beyond this trial, then it is just $35 per month. On the other side of the online application are the investors. Investors can view specific data for startups, not only the benchmarks, but they can view the particular financials for each startup listed within Bizak. Because of the sensitive nature of this data, the subscription for investors is $250 a month to ensure that they are indeed investors or members of corporations. For investors, there is no free trial to secure this data. Additional revenue sources that are currently in production are an XML data feed. This allows investors to integrate our benchmarks and our startup profiles into their database. They can integrate this data as they see fit for their current clients behind a subscription wall. This data, due to its extreme sensitivity, is priced at $4,000 per month. Additional revenues that I hope to integrate into the site, and some that I'm currently working with TOKI Biz Incorporated, are more on the consulting side for both startups and investors. These include business valuations for startups, a bridge between startups and investors. These include investor services, consultation on the performance of startups, the industry on a whole, Web 2.0 industry, the internet industry, how it's going. And that can be in regards to research for investors using our benchmarks, and also my experience in this field, direct consultation to investors. This is in the form of internet research and startup services. And with this side, the reason we're seeking funding is to really branch this out and take on a professional that knows the financial and business world inside out, and it can help direct the sales of that side, whereas I know the internet industry. Excluding the consulting services, I see an investor side of Bizak generating the most revenues. For the last 3 months of 2008, I expect 10 new investors at $250 a month and 1 XML client at $4,000 a month, for a total of $6,500 a month. For 2009, I'm anticipating 100 new paying monthly investor subscribers at $250 a month, or $25,000 total revenues a month, and 10 XML subscriber clients for a total of $40,000 a month. So for 2009, I'm anticipating $65,000 monthly revenues for a total of $780,000. If you plug this into our Bizak calculator, that is a valuation of $3.1 million. Solving the problem. Bizak creates a level playing field for the valuation of internet startups. Bizak gives equivalence to startups so investors and entrepreneurs can make equal comparisons on their earnings potential and business valuation. The market? Bizak's market is internet startups. In theory, Bizak can be marketed to anyone who owns a website. Currently, there are approximately 150 million websites. To date, I have self-financed $17,500 for the development of Bizak. Via Vencore, I am looking for $1 million investment, which would be used to develop our professional services, via the hiring of some key personnel and sustaining a marketing and public relations campaign. The new employees would be used to offer business services such as business valuation, consulting to startups, businesses, investment houses. I would also like to integrate the ability to technically help startups develop their applications. My plans for the marketing campaign is to establish the Bizak benchmark as the quotable metric and the standard for the media and other points of contact. Our current server costs are very low, but with a marketing campaign, these costs could increase to 5 to 10% of the investment. The rough breakdown of the investment would be 50% for salaries, 20% marketing and public relations, 10% for technical costs, and 20% for unexpected costs, which could include increased technical costs, personnel, and office space. The timeline for this investment would be relatively slow and conservative. I ran my last company on zero funding and a shoestring budget for 4 years, so the preservation of capital is a skill I know very well. The same efficient strategy would be applied here to ensure each process works in sync with the other. Hello, I am Tom O'Keefe, and I am the founder of Bizak. I launched Bizak on May 1st, 2008, and I currently own 100% of the company. My experience? I have 10 years experience developing internet companies, 8 years experience in finance and the stock market, and I've been self-employed for 6 years. I am currently the president of TOKI Biz Incorporated and also the co-founder of Infomed MD. In 2003, I founded Research Connect Incorporated, which I sold in 2007 to Technology Alliances Incorporated. In 1999, I co-founded WiredAlumni.com. From 1996 to 2003, I was an equity research analyst at Thomson First Call. A lot of the foundation for Bizak came from my time at Thomson First Call, where we established the First Call earnings per share as a standard financial benchmark. Previous to First Call, I worked for the Boston Stock Exchange and Fidelity Investments. I am a graduate of Boston College with a dual degree in economics and political science. Thank you for watching my presentation.